Every few months this year, a major car brand has recalled thousands of their vehicles. It's honestly starting to feel like every new car that comes out has some kind of issue, ranging from cars setting on fire to their seatbelts not working. So we really have to ask, are cars just getting worse in the modern world? Well, let's try and answer that question by having a conversation. Let's talk about how modern cars seem to be getting more fragile and unnecessarily complicated with every new feature that is being added on. Recently, BMW issued a recall of 12,491 BMW vehicles made from as way back as 2016. Cars affected include the G23 series, the G22 4 series, the G30 5 series, the G29 Z4, the G01 X3, and the G02 X4, which is basically like a majority of BMW's lineup. The issue is that the starter motor on these cars are not fully watertight, which means that water can get into your starter motor, leading to your car not starting at the least and leading to a potential short circuit, which could cause the starter motor to overheat and end with your car being up in flames at the worst. The scariest thing about the latter is that it could literally happen even when your car is standing still, meaning that your car could literally be burning in the garage next to your bedroom door at night while you're sleeping. So to avoid you unexpectedly turning into the Ghost Rider in the middle of the night, BMW recommends that you take your BMW into your nearest service center to have your starter motor changed for completely free if you own any of these models. You know, as a die-hard BMW fan and ex-owner, it kind of breaks my heart what's happening with BMW right now, because this is the same company that builds some of the most high quality cars on the road today. I mean, even though my XE90 had the godforsaken N46 engine in it that would lose its mind if you so much as looked at it wrong, it still never left me stranded. It would always reliably get me to where I wanted to go, no matter how far that was. I mean, that car cemented my lifelong loyalty to BMW, and that was just a 15-year-old 320i. So to see the same company falter this badly is really quite concerning. Like, how could BMW make such a mistake? It just doesn't make sense to me. But then I remember the literal entire video that I did about brand new Ford Rangers being recalled left, right, and center, and I kind of asked myself a question: are cars just generally getting worse now? I mean, BMW isn't the only guilty party when it comes to recalling brand new cars this year. VW recalled 159 Mark 8 Golf TSI and GTIs because the front passenger seatbelt might not buckle correctly. Volvo recalled XC90 plug-in hybrids because the regenerative braking might unexpectedly stop working while coasting downhill, which is dangerous for obvious reasons. If you don't know how regenerative braking works, if a car has electric motors, if it is going downhill, it can use its motors to slow the car down while simultaneously generating electricity that is put back into the car's battery. So imagine you are coasting downhill in your Volvo XC90 and that suddenly stops working, and now you're not coasting down the hill, you're speeding down the hill. I think that's dangerous for obvious reasons there. Toyota recalled 577 Hino 500 CPU and SKDs because the parking brake might be impossible to re-release once you pull it because of an incorrect cage bolt spanner being fitted, whatever that is. Honda recalled CR-Vs and Civics because they have a faulty steering gearbox worm wheel, which could lead to the steering sticking while turning. Now, I'm not going to list each and every recall that happened this year, because if I did that, you'd probably stop watching, but I think you are starting to understand what I'm trying to get at here. Kind of seems like cars are getting more fragile and unreliable with each and every new technological advancement that gets implemented in them, which is surprising because you would expect new technology to make cars better and not worse over time. To find out if cars are actually getting worse or not, we must first understand why at face value it kind of seems like all this new technology is making cars worse. The JD Power Vehicle Dependability Study released February this year found that car issues after 3 years of ownership are at the highest level they've ever been since 2009, increasing by 6% from 2024. These results were kind of expected, as JD Power's 2022 initial quality study found that the vehicle quality of cars at early stages of ownership was relatively low, having noticeably declined from 2021. A lot of these issues are technology and software related, having to do with stuff like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and other just general connectivity issues. At the end of the day, car makers make cars, they don't make phones, and their attempt to keep up with the smartphone market by doing over-the-air updates of their infotainment systems is what is causing a lot of these reliability problems. Vehicles nowadays also share components across different platforms, which means that one component being faulty can affect an entire range of vehicles. This is one of the main reasons why recalls seem more frequent nowadays, is that one component going wrong can lead to a manufacturer's entire lineup getting recalled. Regulators are also more strict when it comes to vehicle defects nowadays, to kind of counter the fact that cars are getting a lot more complicated. They obviously need to be more closely regulated as they continue to grow in complexity. The internet also just makes consumer complaints spread way more quickly, which makes vehicle issues way more visible than they were, let's say, pre-internet. But the simple truth of it is that manufacturers are just rushing to implement new technology without proper reliability testing. And I think this push for innovation leads to manufacturers just overlooking the basics. It's kind of like trying to modify and maintain a car traveling at 120 kilometers per hour down the highway. It's very difficult to do. This is how we end up with a situation where some of the most advanced cars on the road also have starter motors that aren't fully waterproof, because manufacturers are kind of just starting to focus on the wrong things here. It's kind of like what happened with McDonald's drive-thrus in the US, where they tried to use AI drive-thru attendants instead of focusing on trying to make the food not, cause you to have Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease as you continue to eat it over the years. It's the same basic principle. Companies are striving for innovation while simultaneously neglecting the basics. It's more about profits than it is consumer interest. So yes, on the surface, it does kind of seem like cars are generally getting worse. There's more recalls, cars are getting more complicated, and owners are less satisfied. But the thing is, we might be looking at it in the wrong way. Like, what if these recalls aren't signs of decline, but signs of progress? I mean, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. What if cars aren't necessarily getting worse, they're just getting more complex, and the industry is being forced to take more accountability? Regulators being more strict and active means that faults are found more quickly and fixed as soon as they're found. This prevents situations like what happened with the Cougar fires that we talked about in the Ford video, where an innocent man lost his life because of inactivity from the automaker. The uptick in recalls might be more a product of regulators stepping in to avoid consumers being put in danger than it is of cars actually tangibly getting worse. I don't know about you, Chief, but I'd much rather know the fault and take my BMW to the dealership, even if it's a brand new car, and having the starter motor in your brand new car changed kind of sucks that early on. I'd much rather do that than not know about the faults completely and have the car burnt down in my garage, potentially taking my entire house or my family, or even both, with it. Cars being more technologically advanced also means that it is way easier to find faults now than it was maybe 10-15 years ago, despite this technological advancement on all these features being kind of the reason for the faults in the first place. So it's kind of like a chicken and the egg thing here that's going on. On the one hand, the technology makes it easier to find faults, but on the other hand, the technology causes the faults in the first place. So yeah, there is that. Now, yes, there have been a lot of mechanical recalls and mechanical issues going wrong with cars lately. Majority of the recalls happening nowadays are mostly just like related to electrical stuff and all the new like technological features that are being implemented into the car. So in many cases, the car itself, like the mechanical aspects of the car, aren't getting worse. It just has a lot of new failure points that are probably relating to its software, for instance. Now, obviously, like we talked about earlier, there are cases of manufacturers neglecting the basics and having to recall cars with major mechanical issues. But I and the data we touched on earlier in the video would argue that these are kind of starting to be a minority of the issues. I wouldn't be as confident as to say they are the minority of issues. I'm just saying they're starting to be the minority of issues. A lot of recalls happen because of new tech. So then now that we're kind of clued up on vehicle recalls, let's try and answer the original question. Are cars just getting worse? Well, the raw data would suggest yes, they are getting worse because new cars are becoming way more problematic. But when we look deeper into why they're becoming more problematic, we still find that yes, they're getting worse. There's kind of like no avoiding that. They are getting worse, but the actual practical reasons as to why they're getting worse. Kind of like that thing I said earlier, can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. In the same light, you can't advance technology without making a few mistakes along the way. So yeah, sure, cars might technically be getting worse on paper, but are they tangibly worse, or are we holding them to a higher standard just because of how much better they've become? That's the question I want to pose to you guys. Comment your answer down below. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet. We are trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so please subscribe to make that happen. Click the bell icon if you are subscribed and don't have your notifications on. Click the bell icon, helps out every time we upload, helps you out also to know every time that we upload. Make sure you click that. But yeah, look forward to reading your thoughts down below. But until the next one, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.